All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I have a question. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be the generation that had to go and wander through the wilderness until they died off? Or do you want to be the generation that gets to enter into the promise? Who gets to cross the Jordan River and enter into that covenant of promise and see the promise of Yah? This is a question you need to really ask yourself. This is a question that you need to seriously contemplate, that you need to focus on, that you need to cry out to the Father on what you want to be. Because the people in the wilderness that had to die off, it was because of disobedience. The people in the wilderness who weren't allowed to enter into the promised land, they got to hear about the promise. They got to hear about the covenant. They got to hear about the land flowing with milk and honey. But because of their disobedience, because of their disregard to the commandments of Yahweh, because of their disregard to the ways of Yah, and everything He said to do and not do, they didn't get to enter in. And did every single one of them sin? No. But Yah punished Israel as a whole because Israel allowed sin in the camp. And except for 2 men, every one of them were kept from being able to enter across the Jordan and into the land. Caleb and Joshua walked perfectly and holy before the Father, and they got to enter in. And what we're going to get into today is about what does Sabbath mean to Yah. And this is one of the very reasons, this is one of the very things that has a huge impact, not only on your eternity, but an impact on what Yah does and does not do in your walk, in your life, in your home, and in everything, and in your congregation. Are you listening? The Sabbath has one of the biggest impacts besides marriage on what Yah does with His children or doesn't do. What He gives or what He takes away. Right in the congregation, right in your home, and right in your life. Are you listening? The Sabbath day is not merely just a day to rest, but more importantly, it is a sacred day to be spent in worship and reverence. That is not my quote. I came across somebody else who had notes on what they thought Sabbath was, and I couldn't agree more. The Sabbath day has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the Father. The Sabbath day is a commandment. It is a covenant. So let's look at what this talks about. Exodus chapter 20, verse 8. Go to the scripture verses, please. Exodus chapter 20, verse 8. It says, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy." Now the other verses following, I can quickly say, and it says, "For 6 days you shall do all your work and labor, but the 7th day is a Sabbath day unto Yahweh your Elohim. In it you shall do no manner of work, not you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your cattle, nor the stranger that is within your gates. 6 days Yah made the heavens and the earth, and on the 7th day He hallowed it." So what does all that mean? Well, it's the word remember. I have taught on the Sabbath enough times. This congregation should know the Sabbath inside and out. So I'm not going to teach on the Sabbath today about how many verses there are, because there's over 60 verses throughout the entire Scriptures. about the Sabbath. But what I want to instill today in today's message is what the Sabbath means to Yah and what it needs to mean to you because of Him. Amen?
Amen.
The word remember, zakar, is the Hebrew word zakar. It means to celebrate, to confess, to extol, invoke, to keep, and to keep before your face. Did you hear what I just said? And the first word on Exodus 20 verse 8, the word remember, before we even get to what it is we're to remember, Yah is saying that you are to celebrate. You are to confess. You are to extol. And if you don't know what extol means, it means to uplift, to exalt, to praise. Alright? You are to invoke. To invoke, it means to put it to active, to make active. That makes sense? To do. To keep, no brainer. Before your face. It's to be right here. Always. It says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. So let's go to the next one. Shabbat, the Sabbath. One, the Sabbath is the first of the feasts of Yah. We all have always looked at that Yah has 7 feasts. And in all honesty, He has 8. Leviticus chapter 23, verses 1 through 3. Yehovah says that these are my feasts and you shall keep them. Verse 3, He says, for 6 days you shall work, and on the 7th day is my Sabbath day, and you shall rest in me. Then He goes right into Pesach, Matzah, and so on and so forth. But the first thing He says in the first 2 verses is, these are my feasts that you will keep, my Moedim. But here's an even more wonderful thing to look at. The Hebrew meaning, the ancient Hebrew meaning for Shabbat is Shin Beit Tav. Shin, one of the words that, as you know, that each Hebrew letter has multiple words for the meaning of that letter in the ancient Hebrew, to fit according to what it's going and applying to in the word that it's in. Does that make sense? So Shin, the word that it applies to here is the word eat. Eat, press, sharp, those are the 3 words that pertain to Shin in the ancient Hebrew. To eat, the word beit, it means house or inn. And the word tav, and the letter tav, is the Hebrew word or Hebrew letter that means sign, covenant, mark. So when you put the definitions to each letter in the proper order for the word Shabbat, it is to eat in the house of covenant. Did you hear what I just said? It is to eat in the house of covenant. Because Shabbat is Yah's first feast unto His children. Shabbat is the ultimate rest that we await, where we will feast with our King and our brood. Remember the Sabbath. So the next word, to keep it holy. The word holy, kadosh, means consecrated, sacred, holy, Holy One, and Saint. And the other word that goes with it that Yah has proclaimed in this is the word set apart, hallowed. For He says in Genesis chapter 2 that I have hallowed it. It is the word kadash. It is the part of the denominative verb from kadosh. It means consecrated, keep holy, manifest holy, prove myself holy. That's what it it means. Prove myself holy. So when we disobey the Sabbath, we prove ourselves unholy.
Wow.
How do you like that?
Wow.
Purified. Transmit holiness. Wholly dedicated. Not to be mixed up with H-O-L-Y. Holy. W-H-O-L-L-Y. To give it your all. To wholly dedicate. Vindicate as holy. These are powerful definitions to all the words that Yehovah relates to the word Shabbat. To this one special day that is set apart each week that we are commanded to keep. Amen?
Amen.
The word covenant, brit, it means covenant, a pact, or a treaty. Now I find it interesting that treaty is, what is a treaty? An agreement. But what is the purpose of a treaty? Yes, but exactly what you just said, to make peace.
To make peace.
What do we say to each other every Shabbat?
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. And what does shalom mean?
To be made whole and complete.
What?
To be made whole and complete.
To be made whole, to be made complete. So on Shabbat, we are declaring that the Shabbat will not only make you whole, but make you complete. There is no other day and no other thing that references shalom connected to it. It is this covenant that Yehovah created. It is this covenant that He gave us that says that through this, by your obedience in this, you will be made whole and you will be complete. Because it all points to the very thing that we await, as it talks about in Hebrews, that we await that eternal Shabbat with our Father. We await the millennial reign, which is the millennial Sabbath. Because Yeshua will rule and reign as King, and all the world will be in a Sabbath rest. Because He will rule with an iron scepter. Because His Torah will go forth from Jerusalem, Isaiah chapter 2, Micah chapter 4, and it says all the world will learn the Torah and will keep it. You don't get no choice. So we've established what all the different words used to describe the fourth commandment and the meaning of Sabbath is. So now let's look at some key scriptures of what Yah says about us keeping or not keeping the Sabbath. So let's first go to Exodus chapter 31. Let's go to Exodus chapter 31, starting at verse 12 through 17. And Yehovah spoke to Moshe, saying, and I beg you, every one of you, to not allow anything to distract you when we get through these verses right now. I want you to hear every word. It is most imperative. It is most important. It is vital to your walk that you hear and receive what Yah's Torah and His Tanakh says about keeping His Sabbath or not keeping His Sabbath. Amen?
Amen.
And Yah said to Moshe, saying, speak also to the children of Israel. Surely my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign. That word sign is the Hebrew word ot. It means covenant. It means mark. It means set apart. So Yah is saying that my Sabbath is a mark on you. It is a covenant to you. It is a sign to you. And that same word sign means the same thing. He's got three multiple words here that all mean the same thing. Shabbat, sign, oath, covenant, all point to the same description, understanding, and breakdown. It means something sacred, holy, and pure that you're to keep before Him. For it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Yahweh who sanctifies you. You shall keep the Sabbath, therefore it is holy to you. I'm going to ask you a question. If you decide to disregard the Shabbat for any reason whatsoever, you decide to go to work, you decide to go out to some family event instead of keeping the Sabbath, you decide to do anything like that, you decide to go and cook all day for whatever reason, is the Sabbath therefore holy to you?
No. No.
How many of us who claim to keep Torah have been doing it for 3 years or more? Everybody raise your hand. Been 3 years or more, claim they've been keeping Torah. Claim that they are a child of Yah. How long for you, Sarah? How long have you been keeping Torah? Huh? Okay. So you've known about it, but until you made it a part of your life, how long would you say that's been? Okay. So since this past year, you've been trying to... Okay, all right. So, if we've been doing this for a few years or longer, do we have any excuse for not keeping Shabbat?
No.
It is not hard to keep the Sabbath. Not even a little bit. It is only as hard as you decide to make it.
That's right.
And the reason why, if it's hard to you, is because you're thinking of you, not Him. Plain and simple. Whether you want to agree with it or not, that's the fact. 1 John chapter 5, verse 3. For those who love and keep His commandments, for His commandments are not burdensome.
Amen.
It's that easy. And I'm going to tell you something. We are coming into a day where the gates of hell are about to open up and unleash on this earth. We are about to enter into a day that we are about to see things, as according to the word of Yah, a time of tribulation such as no one has ever seen or will ever see again. That a time of tribulation upon this earth that has never existed. Are you listening to what I'm saying? Now you think about the worst things in history that you have heard of. You think about the Jews who went through the Holocaust. For all those years, 6 million of them burned in gas chambers and tortured and everything else. And that's nothing compared to what's coming. You think about every empire. You think about the Dark Ages. When the Catholic Church and Islam slaughtered believers and Jews like they were going out of style for 400 years. They killed more believers than anybody in history. They killed more Jews than anybody in history. You think about the flood. That wiped out everybody except for 8 people. You might want to turn me down a little bit. 8 people survived the entire judgment of Yah on this earth. And that's nothing compared to what's coming. Are you listening? Is this sinking in? Because I'm going to tell you something, you guys. It is time to stop playing around. It is time to stop messing with Yah's covenant. And I'm talking about just this one. It's time to quit playing around. It's time to get over yourself and start getting on Him. Amen. It's time to start putting Him first above everything in your life. Because when those gates of hell open up, and everything that's going to come out of it, that's going to come after this earth, do you think there's going to be any favoritism out of that? And who's the first ones they're coming after? Yah set apart, the saints. And do you think that if you are too busy playing around with whether or not you want to keep Shabbat the way Yah says to, or walk in His ways, or be in obedience, if you ain't got the courage to do it now, how are you going to have the courage to do it when you got guns at your face, you or got your head in a guillotine, and you got all hell being unleashed on you? You're going to cave. You're going to deny Messiah. Because you don't even have the strength to stand for Him right now when there's nothing happening to you. And I don't know any other way people accuse me of fear preaching. Then let it be that. You need to be afraid. This ain't no game. This isn't no arcade game where once I run out of 3 lives, I get 3 new ones, I stick another quarter in there. When this is over, it's over. And when we stand before Yah, He is the one that is either going to welcome you into His kingdom, or He's going to say, I know you not. He's the one that you're either going to die in the wilderness, or you're going to get to enter into the promise. I don't want to die in the wilderness.
Amen.
Do you?
No.
No.
I don't want to be the lost. I don't want to be the one that He says, I don't know you, because you couldn't obey me, because you couldn't do it when life was easy. And how in the world do we even think we're going to be able to do it when it gets hard? It is impossible. And we live in a culture that thinks that, oh, I could do it later. I could do it later. I could do it later. It's okay right now. I'm working through something.
Excuse me, babe.
Seriously, man. I understand. If you're a baby in this, if this is your first year of really trying to walk in the ways of Yah, your first couple of years, okay, you're learning. But man, if you've been doing this a few years or more, you don't have an excuse anymore. This is what Paul was talking about in Hebrews. You should be teachers, but you still need the milk. It's time to stop, and it's time to get over yourself.
Amen.
And get yourself and go stick it in the stinky closet back in the corner somewhere and leave it there and say, Abba, this is going to be your way. I'm doing it your way because there ain't no highway option. You're going to stand before Yah. You're going to give an account. And there ain't nothing you or anybody else can do about it. And you can have all the people and all the shepherds out there that are failing their congregations, and they can all pat you on the back and say, no big deal, you'll get through it eventually. They're not going to be there when you're standing before the Father. They're not going to be there when the Father says, why didn't you listen? You got my word right here. You don't have an excuse. Oh, my pastor said, my shepherd said, my priest said, the rabbi said. Doesn't matter. You have the word. You have no excuse. You have the word of Yah. You know how to read. You know how to study. If you really want to honor Him and obey Him, then you will do it. Verse Starting back off at verse 14. You shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy to you. Everyone who profanes it. Listen. You can think, yeah, he's not doing this no more. Everyone who profanes it shall surely be put to death. It was a death sentence when you broke Shabbat. But it's not happening now. So I can get to it when I want to, right? I can do it however way I want to, right? Because Yah's not going to do nothing right now because Yeshua died. Yeshua died, so it's not that serious anymore. Really? Is that how we're going to treat His Sabbath? Yah gave a death sentence to breaking His Shabbat multiple times. What makes you think that death sentence doesn't still apply? Except now, instead of it being right then and there on the spot, you have to look forward to it when you stand before the Father. And whatever way that death sentence is. And here's the thing I want to ask you. We stand and we say that we're saved by grace through faith. No argument, that's what the Word of Yah says, amen? Amen. But do you think that your blatant disobedience to His Shabbat or to His commandments, that you're not going to have a punishment from that? And do you know without the shadow of a doubt, you know for a fact that the Father may not say to you, I don't know you because you wouldn't obey me? Do you know that that's not going to happen? You don't. None of us do. It says that the just shall scarcely enter therein. Where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? So if the just are going to barely make it in by the skin of their teeth, then if we're going around disregarding His Sabbath, disregarding His Moedim and His mitzvot and everything that He said to obey Him in, then what do you think the chances are when you stand before the Father and He judges you? Do you want to take that chance? Is your family outing that important? Is your job that important? Does this stuff mean that much to where you're willing to risk that with the Father? Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day, he shall be put to death. Therefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations as a forever covenant. Perpetual. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day He rested and was refreshed. Do you know that this is the only covenant that Yah says that it is a sign between me and you? Between Him and us? Do you know that that's the only covenant in the Word where He says, this is my set-apart covenant. You are set apart by this covenant unto me. And it is a sign between me and you. That's what He's saying. He doesn't say that about the fifth covenant, or the 10th, or the 5th commandment, or the 10th commandment, or any of the Moedim. He doesn't say it about any of those. So to me, and please enlighten me if I'm wrong, seems to me the Sabbath is like way up at the top of how important it is to Him. Would you disagree with that?
No.
Amen?
Amen.
So and we know that the entire word from Genesis to Revelation, Sabbath and marriage are the two number one things the entire Bible is based off of. Sabbath and marriage. It is the two things that we await. We don't await to have the first, second, or third commandment, because if we made it, then we obviously did the right. And here's another thing that you need to really think about. If you choose anything to do on the Sabbath that has nothing to do with the Sabbath, you just broke the first 2 commandments. Because you just made something else God before Yah, because you picked it over His Shabbat. And you just made it an idol because you made it your focus. What is an idol? It's something that you give homage to, right? You just paid homage to whatever that was over the Sabbath. So you just broke the first 2 commandments. Then you broke the 3rd commandment. Because it says, you shall not take Yah's name in vain. Saying GD ain't it. It's how your actions play out to His mitzvot. It's how your actions play out to walk in obedience to His word. And when you disobey His word, you profane His name. You want to know how I know? Because He says it about Israel. He says it in Ezekiel chapter 36. He says, I don't restore you because of what you did, because you profaned my name all throughout the earth and all throughout the nations. I do this for my name's sake. Because of His covenant. Because unlike us, He actually keeps His promise. And when we surrendered our life to Yah that day, and we said, from this day forward I will serve you, how many times have we failed in our vow to the Father? But yet He has never failed in His vow. And instead of being prideful or arrogant or making excuses like King Saul did, we need to be like King David and hit our face and say, Father, please forgive me. Let's go to Exodus 35. Verses 1 through 3. Then Moshe gathered all the congregation of the children of Israel together and said to them, these are the words which Jehovah has commanded you to do. Work shall be done for 6 days, but the 7th day shall be a holy day to you, a Sabbath of rest to Jehovah. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death. You shall kindle no fire throughout your dwellings on the Sabbath day. Let's go to Leviticus 26. Verses 2 through 6 and verse 12. You shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am Jehovah. If you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and perform them, then I will give you rain in its season. The land shall yield its produce, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. Your threshing shall last till the time of vintage, and the vintage shall last till the time of sowing. You shall eat your bread to the full and dwell in your land's safety. I will give peace in the land, and you shall lie down, and none will make you afraid. I will rid the land of evil beasts, and the sword will not go through your land. Verse 12, I will walk among you and be your El, and you shall be my people. I don't know how many times I've heard those who claim to be believers, both Christian and Messianic, Hebrew roots or whatever other title, and talking about all the stuff that they go through all the time. Talking about how working this and how they can't do this or they can't do that and stuff like that. You want to know why? Because more often than not, it's disobedience. Now, there are times we do go through the fire. We go through the valley, and Yah allows us to go through these things. And it is to refine us and purify us, to strengthen our faith. But if it is a consistent, constant basis, then you need to look right here and find out what's going on. Amen. What am I doing, Father, that is keeping you from blessing my fields? That's keeping you from bringing in the fruit? That's keeping you from blessing my finances so that I have food on the table, I can take care of my family, or whatever the case may be, or my marriage, or my children, and my relationship, and everything else. Show me what it is that I'm missing. Because I guarantee you, it ain't him, it's you. It's never him. It's always us.
Truth.
But it's so easy for us to go blame Him. Well, why are you letting this happen? We start whining and crying like Israel did in the wilderness. And the result was they all died there. I don't want to be that, do you?
No.
I don't want to be the one whining so much that I've got quail up to my throat till I throw up. I want to be where the milk and honey is, because God is so pleased with me. He's like, here you go. You're doing what I want. You're obeying me. You've got a heart of repentance. Here you go. We're not making excuses.
No.
Isaiah 56. Look, I'm gonna say this. There's a change that's really happening, that I'm seeing happening in the leadership, and it's going to happen through this congregation. And I'm going to say this right now. If I hear anybody having conversation that has nothing to do with being in the Shabbat, I'm going to say something. And I want you to do the same to me. If I get into a conversation that has nothing to do with the Sabbath, has nothing to do with what this set-apart day is, then call me out in front of everybody. Because I'm going to say something to you. We are not holding each other accountable strong enough. And it's time to pick it up. It's time to up it. I'm hoping they're rooting for what I'm saying.
They're in agreement. They're in agreement.
Yeah. Isaiah 56, 1 through 8. Thus says Yahovah, keep justice and do righteousness, for my salvation is about to come, and my righteousness will be to be revealed. Blessed is the man who does this, and the son of man who lays hold on it, who keeps from defiling the Sabbath, and keeps his hand from doing any evil. Do not let the son of the foreigner who has joined himself to Yah speak, saying, Alright, you got. Do not let the son of the foreigner who has joined himself to Yahovah speak, saying, Yahovah has utterly separated me from his people. Nor let the eunuch say, here I am, a dry tree. For thus says Yahovah, to the eunuchs who keep my Sabbaths and choose what pleases me and hold fast my covenant, even to them I will give in my house and within my walls a place and a name better than that of sons and daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Also the sons of the foreigner who join themselves to Yahovah to serve him, and to love the name of Yahovah, to be his servants. Everyone who keeps from defiling the Sabbath and holds fast my covenant, even them I will bring to my holy mountain, and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices will be accepted on my altar, for my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations. Yahovah Elohim, who gathers the outcasts of Israel, says, yet I will gather to him others besides those who are gathered to him. What is the key thing about those 8 verses? It's all wrapped around one thing: Shabbat. He didn't say, if you keep Sukkot, if you keep Pesach, if you keep this or that or that or this, I will raise you up on the holy mountain. I will lift you up higher than my own sons and daughters if you keep my Sabbath. if you keep my Sabbath and you don't defile it. And look, the defiling is really easy to do. You disregard the Sabbath for anything other than what is supposed to be to Yah, you're defiling the Sabbath. Whether you want to accept that or believe that or not, it is a fact. His word stresses it way too much. And the next thing is going to prove that right here. Isaiah chapter 58, verses 13 and 14. If you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy day of Yahweh honorable, and shall honor him, not doing your own ways, not finding your own pleasure, not speaking your own words, then you shall delight yourself in Yahweh, and I will cause you to ride on the high hills of the earth, and feed you with the heritage of Jacob your father. The mouth of Yahweh has spoken. Anybody miss anything in that? Does it make sense what he's saying? Amen?
Amen.
Yah makes clear that the way that you will honor my Shabbat is that you put yourself completely aside, utterly, completely, even your own conversations. Now, I've been guilty. I've been guilty of having conversations on Shabbat that aren't to do with Shabbat. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not. We can walk perfectly before the Father, because if it wasn't possible, He wouldn't have said to do it. If it was impossible to walk perfectly before Yah, then He wouldn't have said, walk perfectly before me. And that is to walk in obedience to His Word, to honor and glorify Him and everything He says and do, to tame your tongue and your thoughts, especially on Shabbat. Last couple things. Isaiah 65, verses 1 and 2. I was sought by those who did not ask for me. I was found by those who did not seek me. I said, here I am, to a nation that was not called by my name. I have stretched out my hands all day long to a rebellious people who walk in a way that is not good according to their own thoughts. That rebellious people died in the wilderness. That is the example. What happened, are you listening? What happened to Israel in the wilderness is an example of what will happen to everybody who disregards the ways of Yah. Let me ask you honestly, are you okay with just barely making it into heaven and be the proverbial cleaner of the holy toilets for eternity? Obviously, there's not going to be a janitor in heaven, but you understand what I'm saying? I mean, really, does Yah mean that little to you? Because that was the mentality I used to have. Years ago, I thought, I used to say that. I'd be like, man, I'll clean the holy toilets with a holy toothbrush forever, as long as I make it to heaven. And one day I said that, and it was like loud and clear. It was like Yah said, is that all I mean to you? And I was just like, no. You want to know how much He means to us? How much He should mean to you? Look at what you mean to Him, because He came and He died for you. He was horribly and terribly tortured and beaten and hung on a cross. His flesh was ripped from His bones. His beard was ripped out of His face. He was whipped so bad it says that He was unrecognizable. And then He was nailed to a cross where He hung. And He still pleaded for Yah to forgive you of your sins. Why in the world would we not give to the Father every bit as much of ourselves to Him, equivalent as much as we could as He did for us? Why? Does He mean that little to us? Do we take it that lightly? Have we cheapened His sacrifice? Has it become watered down? These are things that we've got to take to heart and think about in our walk. Are you really a child of Yah? Or are you just skating through this hoping that you're going to make it in? These are stuff that we have to ask ourselves. How far are you willing to go to show the Father that He is more important to you than anything there is? Anyone. Your wife, your husband, your kids, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, anything. That He comes first. And there's only one way you're going to show Him, and that's obedience.
Amen.
Salvation does not show Yah that you love Him. Salvation is Yah showing you He loves you.
Amen.
Obedience is you showing Yah you love Him for that salvation. Amen?
Amen.
Do you have your hand?
I don't know if you said this already, but it's something that we all really have to learn and let sink in. If we believe Yah's word to be truth, if we truly believe in Yah's word to be the living word of God, then we have to remember that disobedience brings curses on us, on our household, on our families. And so we might say to ourselves, oh, I'm missing Shabbat for my child or for my family because I got to look out for them or do whatever it is you think that you're doing them a service or a favor, but really you're not. You're really doing them more of a service and more of a favor and a blessing to keep Shabbat and have them keep Shabbat than whatever it is out there in the world that you want to allow them to do.
That's exactly right. For those that watching on Facebook, if you didn't hear Anthony, if you think that doing something with your family or for your family or something on the Sabbath and disregarding Sabbath is you're doing a justifying for them, you're actually bringing a curse upon them, because when we disobey the Father, we bring curse upon ourselves. If you want to bless your family, bless your children, you keep the Sabbath, you keep His covenant, and that will bring the greatest blessing.
Who's going to be an example of how we're supposed to follow Him if we're not?
Amen.
Who else is going to be?
Exactly.
How is anybody ever going to know?
And here's the thing, and to emphasize on what my wife just said, who's going to know how to walk in obedience to Yah if somebody's not the example? When we've got congregations, we've got the churches, we've got the pastors and self-proclaimed rabbis and shepherds and all of this stuff, all doing the same thing. They're cooking on Shabbat. They got their Shabbat store, so you can go in there on Shabbat and buy a shofar and buy a Bible and buy stuff on the Sabbath.
Right.
And doing all the things that Yah says don't do on the Sabbath. And they're lighting the menorahs, and it says not to kindle fire. All of this stuff that we're not supposed to do, that the shepherds are teaching everybody it's okay to do, but then they're saying you need to keep the commandment of the Sabbath. Well, what are you keeping? Because you're not doing anything that Yah says not to do. You're doing all of the stuff He says not to do. So how are you actually keeping the Shabbat? Honestly.
Right.
Why? Because you all come together and said Shabbat Shalom? That's not keeping the Sabbath. None of it. James.
Yeah, I remember you saying right at the first of your scriptures there about feasting, and a lot of people put that in their mind, that's food. But the Word of God is food.
Amen.
Amen, James.
Very good.
That's good.
That's exactly right. All right, last scriptures. Jeremiah chapter 17, 19 through 27. Thus says Yahweh to me, go and stand in the gate of the children of the people, by which the king of Judah came in, and by which they go out, and in all the gates of Jerusalem. And say to them, hear the word of Yahweh, you kings of Judah, and all Yehudah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, who enter by these gates. Thus says Yahweh, Take heed to yourselves, and bear no burden on the Shabbat day, nor bring it in by the gates of Jerusalem, nor carry a burden out of your houses on the Shabbat day, nor do any work, but hallow the Shabbat day, as I commanded your fathers. But they did not obey, nor incline their ear, but made their necks stiff, that they might not hear, nor receive instruction. And it shall be, if you heed me carefully, says Yehovah, to bring no burden through the gates of the city on the Shabbat day, but hallow the Shabbat day, to do no work in it, then shall enter the gates of this city kings and princes, sitting on the throne of David, riding in chariots and on horses, they and their princes, accompanied by the men of Yehuda and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And this city shall remain forever. And they shall come from the cities of Yehuda, and from the places around Jerusalem, from the land of Benjamin, and from the lowland, from the mountains, and from the south, bringing burnt offerings, sacrifices, grain offerings, incense, bringing sacrifices of praise to the house of Yehovah. But if you will not heed me to hallow the Shabbat day, such as not carrying a burden when entering the gates of Jerusalem on the Shabbat day, then I will kindle a fire in its gates, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem. It shall not be quenched. And that is the punishment that we have for the fire that Yah will kindle in our own home if we don't obey. And I'm talking to those who know better. I'm talking to those who have been keeping Torah or claim that they keep the Torah, who know the commandments, who know what Yah expects from you. Stop listening to your shepherds and your pastors if they're teaching you to keep the Sabbath in any contrary way than what the Word says to do. My wife and I went and visited a congregation in Greenwood Village, Colorado. And the pastor, because I won't call him rabbi, the pastor, his dad started the very first Messianic congregation in this state. And he's had his congregation for a very long time. And when we met with Israel, we talked and hung out for a few minutes. And right after service, he said he wanted to take us out to lunch on Shabbat to a restaurant. And I looked at him confused, and I said, "You mean right now?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "But it's Shabbat. We're not supposed to buy or sell or even cause the goyim to do anything." And he looked at me, got offended, he got angry, stood up and said, "Well, I could teach you something on that." Turned around and walked away and would never speak to my wife and I again. This is why the congregations are failing. This is why the body of Messiah is failing. Because the shepherds ain't doing their job and teaching their congregations and holding their congregations accountable to really walk in obedience to the ways of God, to really be faithful to the Father. The way He says to, not the way we think it should be or however way we can make it fit so that we can have a congregation that grows. This congregation, if everybody who'd ever been a part of this congregation was still here, we'd have over 100 people in this congregation. But you want to know why every time people left? It's because they said, "I was too strict about keeping the Sabbath." That's one of the biggest things that I've been accused of. It's because I won't do the Jewish traditions. I won't practice the Judaism and everything else in the congregation. I won't act Jewish. I won't wear the kippah because it's pagan. I won't partake in this stuff so they don't stick around. Well, you know what? This congregation could get down to 5 people of absolute honoring the Word of Yah. As long as we honor the Word of Yah, that's the only thing that matters. This congregation is the kind of congregation that needs to have the heart for the Father above everything. And show the love of Yah. The way that we show that love is by the way that we walk in obedience.
Amen.
Amen?
Amen.
Amen.